All right, welcome to RxPerience, the holiday edition.
Yes.
The last
cold
episode
outside.
of season 2.
Season 3.
Season 3,
Man,
sorry.
don't take a whole season away from us.
Everything's,
You're-
lost.
Things are
since
just
COVID.
moving. Things are moving too fast. It's so much fun.
So season 4 is going to start?
Yes,
Have we
right.
been picked up?
We're going nationally.
Yeah, we might change some things up in season 4, but
We should.
we should.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll stand like Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, welcome to the show. It is the last episode for this season. You know, I feel like, I don't know, there's so much going on. Maybe we should just start with what would we like to see under the Christmas tree
The pharmacy
for
Christmas
pharmacy,
tree.
for long-term care and consulting pharmacy.
Yes.
What
Santa
do we
will
want
bring
to
us.
see under the tree?
I don't know if Santa will bring us to us by Christmas time, but maybe.
I
In
mean, I think we've gotten the
2026.
coal early, so
Yeah.
maybe some gifts.
Have you been good enough this year, you think?
I don't know if I have.
It's been a challenging year and a lot of trepidation, a lot of anxiety, but you know, as with any year, there's a lot of, I guess, smoke and mirrors and fear, but doesn't really come to fruition. A lot of comments made publicly, and especially, you know, with the changing of administration and in the White House, and so it's must see TV. It's always something happening.
I think we've been watching this meteor coming in terms of the IRA implementation.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, you know, we have more information than we've ever had. It's going to start shortly. I still don't think we're quite have enough information to really gauge the impact. But we have not deflected it with nuclear weapons. It's coming. It's going to come. Every meeting that we're ever in with anybody in this area on the Hill it's going to come. It's going to be implemented. It's not going to be delayed. And the general feeling, which was kind of our fear earlier in the year, is we're going to see what happens. And if we have to fix it, we'll fix it. But I think our membership feels like it's a meteor and it's going to hit and it's going to be some degree of bad, maybe not as catastrophic as we first thought, but certainly not good.
Well,
and we are going to have to fix it. And we're going to be prepared, I think, with some ideas, but it's going to happen. So it feels like this Christmas is going to be like, I don't know what it was like in those movies. I can't remember anymore, but like everybody's going to, drink a lot because the meteor is going to hit on January 1st, and it's just going to be a rough start to the year.
Well, we can call Ben Affleck and see if he can come and help us save us.
Yeah,
but
could. Yeah.
Short of that.
Liv Tyler. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we've obviously been through major economic changes in our industry, you know, obviously MedD. And, you know, when I look back, this is more similar to MedD, in my opinion, than other major changes. And the reason why is because it's not just a one-time, once a year, like this is just going to happen.
It's a significant payment change.
And it's going to continue every year, another 15 drugs,
Yeah.
20 drugs, 20 drugs. And so, you know, we're bracing for 2026, but this is not going to go just, you know, get fixed or get figured out. And, you know, it's not just a one-time payment change. It's going to continue to roll. So it's like that reminds me of Medicare Part D. Also, when Medicare Part D got turned on, it wasn't 2 months or 3 months of chaos. It was more like 9 to 12 months.
It certainly took a year
of chaos
to settle down.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is that it hits pharmacies that are leveraged with Medicare Part D claims the most. So it hits all pharmacy, but pharmacies that do a lot of Medicaid at the state level or commercial insurance are not as significantly impacted as those pharmacies that do predominantly older adult medicine.
Right.
So it hits our pharmacies directly.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that it's not hitting the pharmacists that go out and consult or that want to go out and do incident to billing. Like the pharmacy ecosystem is one ecosystem. How it's monetized affects everybody.
Right.
Now, I will say, if there's any sort of what's it look like on the other side of the impact of this meteor, it's that this continued chaotic drive toward lowering prices, whether it's IRA or the MFN pricing with, most favored nation, the foreign drug price controls,
the
this
threat
idea of direct to consumer. What it is doing is it's making it more transparent, which I think is good. And it's recognizing that, hey, there's no money in there for the pharmacy or the pharmacist that's actually doing the work.
Right.
So there's recognition. Even if you look at Mark Cuban's program, whatever this Trump RX, which I think is going to look like a Mark Cuban program or a good RX, those programs pay pharmacies a fair and reasonable dispensing fee. Usually, like, I think $12 is what Cuban Cost Plus pharmacy pays, which is a whole lot better than PBM payers, especially if the payer is not paying you for what you are paying for the medicine and then they're paying you a $2 dispensing fee. I mean, that's bad. But if you're getting $12 and you're getting at least the acquisition cost of your product, that's not bad. And that then feeds the ecosystem to be able to allow you to do some of the services maybe you couldn't do before, which might involve a consultant pharmacist or a pharmacist working closer with the patient. And then on the IRA side, I think these manufacturers are going to realize that they can pay the pharmacies to do some of those activities to make sure their product is handled well, administered correctly, especially to people at home that are not healthcare people. What if it's an injectable? What if it's like, insulin or the GLP-1s? It's not just something you hand to somebody and, hey, take it. I mean, I just had a colonoscopy last month, and
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And I had some drug, the bowel prep drug, and
was it tablets or was it the liquid?
It's the liquid, and it's the new liquid. And I didn't play a role in this. I just took what the doctor ordered, but it was a low volume medication that I took. So it was 2 8-ounce things that I had to take 6 hours apart. But I think as a pharmacist, you evaluate all these things differently. You're like, okay, well, why did I get this one? Like, it didn't cost me anything.
See, I specifically asked for the tablets because I didn't want to drink a gallon of...
So, I mean, but I think this whole idea is coming where, hey, I'm going to pay the pharmacist to make sure you know what your options are. If you want the tablets or you want the low volume or you're willing to drink the thing that I remember, dispensing with those big, milk jugs of stuff. And I think that that's going to become a thing. So that's like, is it going to save all of pharmacy? No, but I think it's a move in the right direction. You're starting to pay the pharmacist and the pharmacy for the service that they're providing, not just for the product. I also like some other things like, they had the childproof. It's a liquid. Yeah. And
you needed your wife to open it for you?
The instructions are there, but it's not easy, even for what appear to be an able-bodied adult. But then the instructions on the cap are like white on white embossed instructions. And I'm like, what person older than me can read that?
This? Yeah. Interesting.
They're still not there yet. Like, the people taking this are at least, I think, 50 years old or older. They're certainly not going to look at that lid and be like, how do you do that? Like, I can't really make out the contrast between that.
Hence the need for a pharmacist.
Well, hence the need for the pharmacist, but also maybe just we need to continue to evolve so that medication management is easier and better for patients.
So it sounds like everything came out okay.
Everything's fine.
Fantastic.
But I think that's where we're at. I think that's the only silver lining. If I looked under my Christmas tree, what I would like to see is pharmacists getting paid fair and reasonable rates for their services. And those services span from the act of dispensing, the education, the management, the pharmacists that are out there doing incident 2. Like, all of these services that pharmacists provide need to be reimbursed, and not in one big pile of money for the service.
Right.
Like, you're delivering to these people. They require that. So you're going to get, paid for that.
Yeah. It's interesting if you kind of look back the last 100 years, so to speak. 100 years ago, we had the local hometown pharmacy. It didn't matter what the age was or, any kind of special needs. And then over the years, we started dividing up into, well, that's a senior pharmacist and that's more pediatric and that's more retail. And that's almost because of the aging population and the people staying at home, and we talk about this all the time. We're going to have 75 million seniors that are going to be 5%. They're going to be sitting at home, and they're going to need extra TLC. They're going to need extra services, extra care, and we talk about that reimbursement, but it's really kind of coming full circle. So if retail pharmacies went over to combo or long-term care because the reimbursement was significantly better. Now retail's kind of flattened out. They've been hammered over the last 20 years, and that's kind of flattened out. There's not much more to drain from that grape. Can't get much more juice out of that. Long-term care is now starting to get hit, and that reimbursement's going down. And I think what's going to end up being the result is you're going to see long-term care pharmacies going outside the four walls of a skilled, of an AL,
Sure.
going to the community, providing those additional services, those special services, promoting the fact they are age-friendly, that they are senior-focused,
100%.
and making a real legitimate case to do long-term care at home for those type of citizens that need extra care,
100%.
not just able bodies that can figure out their own medications, but people that are taking 10, 15 medications need that compliance packaging, need that extra education, need someone that will do a monthly consult with them and make sure as things change that they get the most appropriate medications. And so it's almost kind of coming full circle now that long-term care pharmacies supporting can support that local community as well.
Yep. I think that's exactly where it's going. And I think the way you articulate it is important because these are services, not a basket of services. The dispensing fee is not intended to cover all of those things that are being done. They're different services with different reimbursement rates that have to be performed and performed well and need to be reimbursed. We cannot continue in a process where, I make a lot of money on Eliquis, and that carries the fact that I don't make money on this 250 generics that I dispense. Yeah. This cannot be how it works anymore. And I think there's a role for the manufacturer to be part of that reimbursement that says, hey, I've got a drug, it's unique, it has different facets of it that require education. It's my responsibility if I'm selling you that drug to pay for that part of it so that patient gets the right information. Just like when you buy a TV from Best Buy or a automobile at a dealer, they don't just give you the keys and you drive off the lot. They sit down like, okay, here's your warranty information. Here's what's covered. Here's how the car works. This is where the windshield wiper is on this car. Like, it's not just a thing anymore. It's a whole array. And by the way, you have a service package. You come back to this automobile.
Yeah, you can buy extended warranty or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, you certainly can be transactional. And
you can be.
Unfortunately, we've been very transactional. I think that's what led to this problem originally 30 years ago when Medicare Part D's and medication cost management came about, and you got that middleman, so to speak, that said, I'm going to help manage your cost and manage your medications. And we allowed that to happen, and we put ourselves into a very transactional type of business. And now we're regretting that, and we're trying to push and emphasize more and more services. And we've got the stronghold on services because we have been providing basically not just the packaging, but we've been finding the clinical expertise, and we've been going above and beyond for 50 years or however long ASCAP's been, and seniors have been here providing extra consulting, and we've been minimally paid for that. And now it's a chance to expand that to specific medications, specific disease states. And I really think when, like we talked about, that direct to consumer, that threat, and some manufacturers are starting to do that, but they've been around a long time. Really, at the end of the day, that the direct-to-consumer is not really a new thing. It's just becoming more and more. But that doesn't mean that we're necessarily cut out. First of all, I think it's going to be cut in. Yeah, I think we could be cut in. And, I think pharmacies could work out deals with manufacturers just like specialty pharmacies do to say, hey, we'll be the last mile. We'll dispense that. We'll do the counseling. We'll follow up on that patient. We'll keep that patient, taking that medication correctly. So you can do the direct to consumers technically, but let it go through the long-term care pharmacy. And I think we can wedge our way in between that risk of polypharmacy, that risk of, selling directly to consumers without really proper management. I think pharma would prefer that. They're not going to go into consulting and education. They just want to have a transaction. And I think a pharmacy can fit in there and be able to provide that last mile.
Yeah, I get to sit on some cool little groups being in DC, and one of them meets once a month for 2 hours. It's legitimately 5 to 7. They cut it at 7. It's very structured, and it's about 25 people, advocacy groups, provider groups like us, think tank groups, and almost purposefully, to the extent that they know, it's about 50-50 Republican, Democrat, or at least conservative liberal thought process. And these are the most fascinating meetings I go to. But the one I'm bringing this up because the last one was about prior authorization, and they were talking about it from a perspective of medical prior authorization. Could they save money if they prior authed? I think they were talking about skin replacement, which is not something obviously pharmacy has anything to do with. But this whole idea of prior authorization is obviously something pharmacy is very familiar with.
Yeah.
And it's really the same thing.
Did you speak up?
I did. I do occasionally. But what I said was, because they had all these statistics, 1% of prior auths are rejected. And of those 1%, 80% of them get paid after they go through, an appeal process. And so my point was, has anybody ever looked at what it costs to have a prior authorization process? Certainly, they don't care about the cost to the provider or the pharmacy or the patient that gets their med delayed, or the time it takes to do the prior auth. Like, none of that's ever considered. But what about the insurance company themselves and the payer of that insurance company, so the employer or Medicare in this case? Has anybody looked to see if it's only 20% of 1% of the claims that you actually are able to curb with prior authorization, does it actually have a return? Like, sure, the assumption is, well, it helps us not pay when we shouldn't pay for the expensive thing, whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
But, if I didn't have 200 people working on this because I didn't have this process, would it save anybody money?
Right.
Does it save the employer money?
How much is it spending me to save money?
Yeah.
How much is it costing me
I
to save
know
money?
on the drug side, we could argue all day that it certainly doesn't save money. It might create money for the plan, the PBM, because they might be shifting you to a product that they get an 80% rebate on that they don't pass to the employer or the ultimate payer. And maybe they're starting to do that now, but are we really just now deciding we have to generate revenue to pay for this infrastructure that's behind us that now sits between the provider and the patient? We got to pay for all this United Healthcare people that do all this work, but does it really do anything?
Yeah.
Or is it just work? Like, it's just busy work. And yeah, we saved $800, but we spent $900 to save the $800.
Yeah.
Where we could just not do it, not spend the $800 on the insurance company PBM, and keep it at the patient provider level.
I wonder, though, how many people just give up. Like,
100%.
start going through the PA process.
Of course.
Like, just forget it. Change the drug. I don't even want to mess with it.
They definitely do give up, and I think it definitely, from the perspective of the PBM and the payer, it probably makes sense to them. But if you were to lay it out in front of the employer or Medicare or Medicaid, they would probably say, well, wait, you did save money, but you spent it on yourself.
Right.
Like, it didn't save us anything.
Right.
And I think we're there.
I can't
and
imagine
I think all
that
this
the insurance company is
direct-to-consumer
the one that keeps the...
starts to break that down, to your point, and it drives this pharmacy patient pharmacy manufacturer relationship almost the way it was before the advent of HMOs in the 70s.
So we've talked endlessly, breathlessly, till blue in the face about PBM reform.
Yeah. That's going to be under the tree.
That's... Is it going to be wrapped in coal and flammable? Like, is there...
It's never going to be perfect.
Is there any chance...
I think it's going to get done.
Do you think Buddy Carter, I know he's getting more and more involved. He's more and more active. He's more and more popular, has a bigger, stronger voice.
Yeah.
We appreciate and support Buddy to the nth degree, but it's always been like trial and error. It may be, and then it gets pulled back or gets cut out, and it seems like it's just never going to happen.
Right.
And before we give up, but obviously we now have an administration that's been in there come next year for an entire year. They have Congress, they have Senate, they have the White House. Like, if anything's possible for PBM reform, I think it would be now, come 2026, a year from now. There could be a change in Congress that everything becomes stalemate, and also nothing gets done. But if there's going to happen, I think it has to happen in 2026.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen before the end of this year. Now we record these episodes.
So you think in the next 7 days they're on?
Yeah, right. So this is coming out 7 days.
I know the government was shut down for like 6 weeks.
And I will make this prediction: it will occur between the airing of this episode and the end of the year. But I do think
strong prediction. You heard that here.
I do think that this administration and the bipartisan aspect of PBM reform says we're going to get it before the end of this year.
And what does it mean? Define
it's what's out there in terms of what was out there last year at the end of the year. It's not perfect, but it's a good launch in the right direction of PBM reform. I think it's good.
Like, now, everybody knows that's Darth Vader, the PBMs.
Yes.
And you've got to, and they can pretend like they're nice now, but at the end of the day, that's where our healthcare costs are sitting in the insurance company, or sitting between pharma and patient. And, a Buddy understands that. And I think there's more and more senators and congressmen and women that understand that. But it just seems like, due to, PAC or whatever contributions, however they make people to vote no, it just seems like it always gets cut out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be packaged. And again, we have no way of knowing if it happened already or if it's going to happen in the next 7 days. But at the time of the recording of this podcast, I think what you're going to see is a battle over the ACA subsidies that results in some sort of health bill that takes care of pieces of that, pulls in PBM reform and maybe some other healthcare dangly objects that are out there. I don't think ECAPS makes it, but maybe it's in there. I'm not sure the supplier fee makes it, but maybe it's in there. I think that's going to happen before the end of the year. Now, obviously, we would love the supply fee, ECAPS. We love all of it. PBM reform, all to be in there. I don't know if there's going to be bandwidth for all of it, but we will, I think, for sure get some sort of PBM reform and some sort of answer to this idea that was floated when they opened the government of, I want to give people the $2,000 to spend on their health care instead of giving the $2,000 to the insurance company to spend on. Yeah, right. Now, it's not going to be a check. Because if you think about it, there will be some people that are like, sweet, $2,000, I don't need health care. Like, I'm not going to spend, like, it's got to be tied to health care. Like, you got to use it for health care. I don't know what that looks like. It doesn't mean that in the chaotic world we live in that it might not be a check. But
COVID certainly was,
but it just doesn't do anything for you if the person that doesn't care about healthcare that ultimately we have to care for anyway when they show up at the ER doesn't use those dollars on healthcare.
I'm 100% sure my adult children would not be using it for healthcare.
Right. So it's got to be used for healthcare. And I think this administration does want to lock that down a little bit. They don't want to give $2,000 to an undocumented person to use on their health care. Sure. So they're going to lock it down. However you feel about that, that's definitely something that they would be concerned about. So I think they lock it down. I think all of that, materializes as some sort of, whether you call it a health bill or not, some bill that passes before the end of the year that addresses PBM reform, the ACA subsidies, and maybe some low-hanging healthcare bills that are out there. And believe me, we have ECAPS and supplier fee, But if you don't think every discipline and sub-discipline out there doesn't have a bill for something, they do. There's hundreds of them. So there's going to be some winners and losers.
On Christmas morning, you're going to have PB and reform underneath your tree.
I feel like we are.
That's your prediction. That's your. Yeah, that's
bad.
good. That's encouraging.
I almost feel like it's the announcer's bias when they say this guy hasn't missed a field goal in 15 years and then instantly misses the field goal.
Yeah,
so as soon as you say your prediction is it's going to be under the Christmas tree, now it won't happen because you said it. But then maybe ECAPs and supplier fee happen because we said maybe not.
Or a bottle of wild turkey. Either way.
That's right. Well, I think regardless on Christmas, we're all going to be having some bourbon and spirits because we're going to be thinking starting January 1st, we're not going to have time to do anything but try to make this ridiculous IRA implementation work for the next 6 months.
And we've talked about that to our blue in the face. It is going to be chaotic. I think ASCAP is really going to get a lot of information coming in from pharmacies like this isn't happening right. They're not paying this right. I think as pharmacies figure out and get more sophisticated on their reconciliation, getting paid from 2 different sources for that one dispense, and as they figure it out, more and more information will come in. So, I certainly don't envy Jim and the ASCAP team because I knew you guys are going to be super busy during probably more Q2 because Q1 no one's going to even know what to complain about, but probably during the second quarter.
I think it'll be all of it. It was funny because when we started the weekly calls, the bi-weekly calls and now weekly calls for IRA, people are like, this is so awesome because we remember COVID and how you guys got on the phone every week and just kept feeding information. And we were so grateful for that. And we're so grateful for this. And I remember thinking, man, COVID was it was happening to all of us.
Right.
So we did what we thought was the right thing. We got to get everybody as informed as possible. IRA implementation, we did this to ourselves. We didn't do it to ourselves, but the system did this to. It's a shame that we have to equivocate
and
the
most
two.
of America is clueless
they don't
of IRA.
So
this is specifically more of a long-term care.
It does rise to the level of emergency, and I get that. I get that corollary. I didn't really think about it until people said it. But then at the same time, I'm like, man, this sucks. We did this to ourselves. How did this happen?
Yeah.
It's not like a pandemic that came out of nowhere. Whether you believe it was leaked from a lab or came from an animal, it happened randomly.
Yeah.
Somebody did this to us. And that's how bad it is.
And we call them the United States government.
Right? We call that.
That's why voting is very important.
The IRA bill.
No,
yes.
But, and there's a lot outside. We just focus on our world, but there's a lot on the IRA bill that has nothing to do with with pharmacy specifically. But, and it kind of all unfolded dynamically to see almost negatively towards long-term care pharmacies. And it just is more circumstantial.
Well, pharmacy in general, but certainly,
Yeah. But those medications in that top 10 list, most of them are senior, medications.
Well,
they just happen to be.
I don't think it was malintended.
Popular. No, not
lowering drug prices is a good idea.
Right.
Negotiating better pricing is a good idea. But if all you're focused on is the manufacturer's price for the medication, you don't think about the entire supply chain, you've not done your homework and you haven't done it right.
And often pharmacies forgotten about when it comes to any of that.
It was,
any of those rollouts. But let's end positive though. We talked about PB Inform. What other good things that we can take to the bank because Chad Worth said it's going to happen in 2026?
I think we're out of necessity, we're going to get a lot of resources under the Christmas tree for how to deal with this. So, I know from ASCP's perspective, we're going to be delivering a lot of education that is, maybe it's not the traditional, how do you treat hypertension, but it's how do you manage hypertension in an IRA MFN world? Stuff the stuff we always should have been doing. I used this in that meeting because I was asking the providers in the room, how many people have done a prior auth because the person was prescribed or you prescribed a cheap generic med that was wrong for them? How many times does the insurance company stop and say, whoa, wait a minute, you're trying to use oxybutynin for overactive bladder, and that is very dangerous for somebody over the age of 65. I know it's pennies, but we don't think you have to talk to our medical director.
Yeah.
Does that ever happen? No, it doesn't happen. So why do we allow it? So when we know if it's my dad and he has overactive bladder, I would prefer him to be on one of the beta 3 agonists because it doesn't have all the baggage that the anticholinergics have. We have to start doing that proactively.
Yeah, absolutely.
And doing it in a sense that I'm not going to feel bad because I'm going to get the right drug to the right patient. And yes, I might make $5 instead of a quarter as a pharmacy, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting them the right medication.
We shouldn't apologize for making a profit.
Right. And there will be instances.
And providing the best clinical solution at the same time.
Right. And there'll be instances with these Medicare negotiated drugs where they're expensive and there might be a generic alternative for another drug in that class that's not, governed by the IRA, where you say the same thing. Like, hey, we negotiated the price of this drug. So it's a good price. It may not be the cheapest, but it's the best one for your mom or dad or for you, and we should use it. Right. And yeah, we make a little bit more money on it than we do on the cheap generic, but we negotiated a good price on this, and it's better for you. Like, we cannot apologize for getting people on the right drug. So I think under the tree, I guess we're playing the role of Santa at ASCP. Next year, you're going to see a lot of education aimed at that to try to help pharmacists and pharmacies navigate that piece, because they're going to be in environments where they're trying to keep their businesses open and they need sustainable resources. How do we do things that generate revenue? How do we teach people, like Thea did at annual meeting, how to bill incident 2? Mm-hmm. How do we help them find avenues where there's revenue so they can keep their group practices or their businesses, pharmacy businesses, open and thriving? So I think those are going to be on the tree.
Yeah. Hey, we'll take it. Thank you, Santa.
We'll take it. Yeah. Santa, Uncle. We used to say Uncle ASCAP, but maybe Santa ASCAP. I don't know. We're going to try.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, any Super Bowl predictions? That's the next big thing sport-wise.
No.
You want to go out on a limb and say that?
I'm just going to say, wasn't it awesome when Joe Burrow came back on Thanksgiving night, led us to victory over the Ravens, went over 500, and now, having basically won the AFC North, and we have a game left. But won't that be exciting to watch in the playoffs?
As you can see, this is an imaginary world where we just dream big.
Right. Again, the podcast was recorded 3 or 4 weeks ago.
And they called you out on center field to recognize.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't want to go too far. I don't want to make it not sound possible. Very good. Very good. Well, I'm looking forward to 2026. Yeah, it's going to be great.
I want to be a positive. My goal, my New Year's resolution is to be more positive. Stop worrying and start being excited about what could be.
Yeah,
that's my new, and that's going to last until January 2nd for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Until the phone starts ringing on how bad things are.
This year sucks.
But no, I think we have no choice but to be positive. We have to be positive.
We have to.
And I think ultimately,
it's never as bad.
My first boss used to always say, it'll all work itself out in the end.
And it does. It
will. It will all work itself out.
We're still breathing.
Yeah. If you're conscientious, prepared, like, if you're going to get blindsided by things and not change and not innovate, not be adaptive, then you are going to be at risk. But I think if you're doing all the things, trying to be as educated as you can, trying to see what's coming around the corner, I think it'll work itself out.
Survived Med-D, we survived COVID, and we're better off for it.
We survived the millennium. Remember that?
Yeah, Y2K.
Y2K.
Yeah,
I think we'll survive this too.
We're going to survive IRA.
This seems like more of a meteor coming that we can't stop, but I think we will too.
Save us, Ben.
That's right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. We will see you next season, next year on the RxPerience podcast.